Hey, howdy everybody, how's it going? Welcome back. These are my hands. Today is a little bit of a different video because I want to talk about something that has helped me a lot in having fun recently. And it is this right here, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Retroid Pocket Flip 2, and I want to talk about this little device because it's pretty sick. So let's get into this. I'm going to unzip this, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Now, right out of the box, this is the official case that it comes in. It costs an extra $10 for the case, but it's the official case that you can get with it. And I have to say, it's not the best case in the world. I would not recommend getting this case. I would recommend getting something else, or even like a little sleeve or something else to put it in, because it does have a lot of wiggle room here, and that's the main thing. If you do get the case though, you could easily, and I'm thinking of just getting like a little thin padding to put around the edges and then have it just fit snugly in there. But as it sits, it does wiggle around a lot, but it has a nice little thing here. It has a thing here. If you want to, I don't know, store something in there, you can do that. That's an option as well. But this is the official Retroid Pocket little case for it. But this is the device itself. Okay, now it's pretty small. Take a look at this. My hands are already small as it is, but this device is extra super tiny. I'm going to grab my 3DS, which is right behind me, and I forgot to set up for this, and I'm going to show you how it compares to a 3DS. So this is a 3DS XL, new 3DS XL, Super Nintendo edition. Love this device. Oh look, there's me. There's me. Hi. Hello. Love this device. This is, I think, my favorite handheld ever. I think the 3DS is incredible, and it's probably one of the best handhelds that money can buy, and maybe one of the best consoles that money can buy, especially the 3DS XL once you mod it, especially the new 3DS XL. And this, next to it, is the Retroid Pocket Flip 2. They are virtually identical in height, and it is actually a little bit smaller than the 3DS in width, believe it or not. Hold up, I gotta move the camera over a little bit. I'm very professional, guys. I know what I'm doing. I'm so professional. Oh, you can see my phone over here too. I'm known for being so professional on this channel. You guys watch me because I'm very professional, and I never make any mistakes or anything. There we go, that's better. How's that looking? It's actually smaller than a 3DS XL. Now, width-wise, it's obviously quite a bit thicker. When you're looking at it and you're comparing it about this, from this end, it's kind of about the same, but if you flip it around and you look at the back end, it's definitely thicker. I'd say it's like a good 50% thicker than the 3DS XL. It's got this kind of wedge design here on the side, which is a little bit strange, but it doesn't work too much to its detriment, and you'll kind of see what I mean later. So let's take a look at this device. Love you, 3DS, but goodbye for now. Let's take a look a little bit at this device and kind of what we got, what's going on here. The outer casing of it has this really weird pattern, and I wish my camera would focus. There we go. I don't understand the point of this. It's very strange. It doesn't make much sense. It's a little like timer. Also, it's the 4th of July, so if you hear some fireworks going off, just ignore those. It's not even dark yet. This doesn't make any sense. It looks like a timer or some spy thing. On top you have your L1, L2s, and then actual physical triggers, which is really nice compared to something like the 3DS, which has buttons for both of those. So actually incredible. Got a little fan output here. The back has more fan output. And then on this side, we have little volume buttons right there. And where here? SD card slot, charger, USB-C, thank goodness, and actually a headphone jack, which is kind of nice. Now, this, in case you don't know what this is, or in case you aren't aware of what Retroid, hey, it's me. In case you aren't aware of like what Retroid does with these devices, this is basically, essentially a modified Android phone that is built specifically for gaming. So I'm going to boot it up. The screen is gorgeous. The screen is an OLED 1080p 5-point-something inch screen. I don't know, you can look up the specs if you really care, but it is beautiful. It is an incredible screen. Now, this is going to actually boot up into a separate little boot software that I've set up for it. And this is ESDE front end Emulation Station Desktop Edition. This is a sort of a different launcher for it. It's not the original launcher that it launches on. It launches and you can choose stuff. It kind of looks like Android. But this actually is something that I put together based on a video from Retro Game Core. So I will link that video down in the description. Please go check that out. Russ from Retro Game Core does a great job with these kinds of tutorials and reviews and stuff like that. So go check out his channel if you are interested in something like this. One of the coolest things about this, I think, is just the overall layout. The layout is great. I love where the thumbsticks lie. Like this is amazing. Okay, that kind of looks a little crazy, but the thumbsticks are in a perfect spot. The face buttons are in a weird spot. And it's more so, you more so notice it after like extended periods of gaming. My hands are also very small, and I'll kind of show you comparatively how small my hands are. I mean, I don't know, very small. This thing is barely bigger than my hand. It fits nicely in my hand, but it's barely bigger than my hand if we're looking like lengthwise. It's just a little bit weird. That is my one gripe with this, is the layout. The layout is just a little bit weird. I don't really like these being down here because you're playing most of the time with this, and the angle of your right-hand thumb gets a little bit tiring. So I prefer to actually play like this, which is nice if you're not using these sticks, or sorry, the bumpers or the triggers, or you're not using them for extended periods of time and you only need them ever so often. You can just do that and then put your hand back down. I find this way more comfortable. When you're playing retro games, specifically things from like the SNES and NES and like things that only require like a D-pad and these, it actually feels the best because then you're holding it like this and you don't have to deal with these things. But the really squareness of this, especially around the edges, is a little bit weird. So keep that in mind if this is a device that you're interested in. That feels a little bit strange. Other than that, you've got your start and select buttons. You have your home button and your power button, which I really feel like this should be home and this should be power, but it's switched around. I don't know, smaller little circular button screams power to me, kind of like on the 3DS, like that. No stylus for this, obviously, but it is touchscreen. So it's the same as an Android phone. It's literally just a phone screen with some of the internals in here and built to be a gaming device. Then you got the speakers here, and that's about it for this. The screen, the video does not do it justice. I'm gonna come in a little bit more here with my camera so you can see a little bit more of what I'm talking about. Maybe, but it is absolutely gorgeous. It is one of the best handheld screens. Possibly, I think, the best handheld screen that you can get. This is the same screen that's on the Retroid Pocket 5, which is a handheld that has a layout similar to like the PS Vita or the PSP. It looks like a PS Vita. So if that's more your style and you don't really like the foldable clamshell design, you get the same screen and very similar, thank you Firework, very similar specs for basically around the same price. Another thing, pricing wise, this thing retails for $229 US, which is incredible. It is a steal in today's market of handhelds in this economy. It is amazing that you can get one for that decent price that's this good. Now, there are cheaper ones out there. You can definitely get cheaper ones. You can get ones for under $100, but for the quality of this and the flippiness of this, which I am such a sucker for flippy handhelds, it's worth it for me. I've been playing on it for maybe about 2 months now, I would guess, around there, probably. And so I have some thoughts. If you don't like this SNES colored one, which I got to match my SNES 3DS, look at that, beautiful. They also have a GameCube purple colored one, they've got a black one, and they have a clear sort of teal, like see-through one from, you know, the good old days when your handhelds and stuff were clear and see-through. One other thing, I mean, because it's an Android handheld, you swipe down, you got your notifications. It does have joystick lights. So these do light up. Now, obviously that's going to drain the battery a little bit more, but you can go in here, you can change the colors, you can do stuff. Okay, well, I lost the menu, but you can change colors, you can do stuff, you can customize that to your heart's content if that's something that you like. Before I get into the games, though, I just want to kind of talk about the user experience. If you go through what I did with watching the video from Retro Game Core, it will set you up in this beautiful little menu where you have basically everything that you need here. And I'm going to see if I can zoom in a little bit more, bring my camera slightly closer, and I just kind of want to show you what's going on here. So I'm going to flip my screen a little bit over this way. So we've got here Android apps, and I can go in here and look through just random Android apps. And I went and categorized all this according to that video. So again, go watch this. Android games, these are games on the Play Store, things that you can download or whatever. You can throw stuff in this category. I've got Vampire Survivors on here. Ship of Arcanian, if you don't know, is an Ocarina of Time port where it runs at 60 FPS. I'll show you some of that gameplay. Dead Cells on here. There's just some stuff. It came preloaded with some things like Poke MMO, whatever, some other things. I'm not sure what those do. I haven't messed around with all of them. Then I have a category over here for emulators. So these are where like I can go in and I can edit some of the emulator settings individually here. And then we get to the actual games. So I've got some 3DS games. I've got N64, Game Boy, GBA, Game Boy Color, GameCube, SNES. We don't talk about that. Wii U, Sega Genesis, PS1, PS2, PSP. It's got pretty much everything that you can think of from these older systems, and it runs them extremely well across the board. I'm going to show you a little bit of gameplay from a ton of different things, and just to kind of show you how well this thing runs games. Another thing about the performance is the fan. There is a fan on the backside of this, and the fan does in fact affect performance a lot, in that if you have the fan running, if you go up here and you go to performance and you set it to high performance, the fan will go whoo, and you can kind of hear the whoo of the fan, but the games will run better. So if your game is struggling and you kind of mess with it, you can set the fan to high performance and it'll run better. I have it defaultly set to performance, but it could also go to standard, which turns off the fan altogether. But performance is pretty good for what you'll need, but that kind of affects the speed of the fan and all of that stuff. So how does it run games? Well, let's get into some of that. I'm not going to really talk about the Android games because it's an Android device, so obviously it runs Android stuff. I do want to talk about Ship of Arcanian, though, because this is something that people will find interesting. Oh, there's my camera. Hello. Because this does run super, super well, except for one thing, and it's my own skill issue that I messed up. You can probably hear it running. But this is an Ocarina of Time port. It uses the N64 version, but I have it set up to use textures from the 3DS version. This is actually a buttery smooth 60 FPS. It's really hard to tell on the camera because the camera's filming 30, but it's buttery smooth 60. Hold up, let me see if I can actually change the camera so that it does 60, and I will be right back. Give me 1 second. There we go, we're back. Okay, look at this, buttery smooth 60. Now you may notice Link's eyes and mouth are blacked out. That is something to do with the texture pack that I messed with. I downloaded a texture pack that uses the texture models from the 3DS remake, and it is a little bit weird, and it makes his eyes and mouth blacked out. But other than that, this thing runs buttery smooth on here. Obviously, I mean, it's a native Android game, but it's just really cool to have Ocarina of Time running at 1080p 60 FPS on a handheld. It's really kind of neat, and it's not something that you see every day, and especially it feels really good on a gaming handheld with the controllers, with the controls and everything here. It feels great, especially compared to the 3DS version, which is still really good and I still like playing. This version just feels better because you've got the better visuals and everything. This one is like 480p 30 FPS, but it's still a good game. Anyway, so usually when you get out of games, if you hit like the home button in most things, it'll bring up a menu. In most emulator things, like here, it brings up like the Ship of Arcanian menu at the top. But the best way to get out of games is just to use the standard Android thing. So like swipe up and then you can get rid of that, and it'll just take you back to the home menu. You can just do that. So, you know, standard phone stuff. Another thing, and I'm just going to fix the camera slightly here. Another thing that I wanted to show you is some stuff with like these emulators. You can go in here and change some settings. Some of the emulator settings to get them set up with like making them work through these things here or whatever, like through these menus, is a little bit funky. For example, the console that must not be named, that I must not say in this video for legal reasons, doesn't work super well when you try to set it up through this thing so that it works and you just hit through here. I've had some weird issues, but if I go into the emulator menu and I launch this, which is actually the emulator for that, then it will work just fine. And I want to show a little bit of gameplay. Let's show a little bit of this. Just because I think it's really cool that it can run this. And it actually runs it fairly well, which is kind of surprising. So this is obviously, you can see what it is. I don't want the Nintendo ninjas to come after me, so I'm not gonna say it so that it's like in the video transcript or whatever, and it gets me or whatever. I don't know exactly how that works, but look at this, dude. Buttery, smooth, 60 FPS. Now, there are some texture flickering issues. It's more noticeable when it first loads into the game. Oh gosh. It's more noticeable at certain angles when it first loads into the game, so keep that in mind. It does not run this console perfectly, but it does run it, and it is playable. So if texture issues are something that aren't the biggest deal in the world to you, then this is perfectly playable. I haven't gotten very far in the game, obviously. I just got to this area, but it is playable, and since it is the SW version, I'm not going to spell out the whole. I'm scared to even spell it out. Since it is that version, you can use this stick to control the sword instead of the motion controls, which is really cool. So that's a bit of that. It does run other stuff like, I'm not going to say the game, but Retroid Bread. It runs Retroid Bread really well, that one. And yeah, so it's kind of hit or miss. More of the low power games work really, really well. And some of the higher power ones I wouldn't try. I'm not going to try something like Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom on there for sure, but just something to think about. Now, how does it run retro consoles? Near perfectly. Near perfectly. I'm going to boot up a bit of Banjo-Kazooie here because, you know, Nintendo ninjas, who knows? This will boot into the emulator. It's a little weird. Now, it does have this stuff on a screen at first. It goes away after 5 seconds. This runs great. I haven't tested it with mods or anything, so it's running at the native frame rate at like 20 to 30 FPS, but it does run great. I have to sit through this stupid dialogue exchange because I'm just at the beginning of the game, but it runs super well, and I highly recommend playing some older console stuff. I've tested some other things as well. It runs really great. Just a second, I'm going to fix the autofocus because it's auto-focusing, and I'm annoyed by that. All right, autofocus issue is fixed, so now it'll just show you stuff. It runs pretty well. Not gonna show any more, but just take my word for it. It runs well. If you want to run some other stuff, I mean, also these games run super, super well. I'll launch super underrated GameCube game, by the way. I said the console. Super underrated game, by the way. This game is actually amazing. Let me see if I remember the commands to load the game so I don't accidentally... No, okay. I'm a little worried because there's... sometimes I forget the commands that I've set up for the emulator. This is running for some reason in the wrong aspect ratio. It should be square, so I messed something up, but you know, it's fine. I didn't mean to do a new game. Whatever, it's okay. I'm just showing you stuff anyway. But this console as well, it runs games perfectly. I've had no real issue with anything. I haven't had any texture issues or anything like that. It is running, I forgot to turn off, I was messing with like the widescreen hack. It is running with the widescreen hack, so it is doing a little bit of a weird widescreen thing. Some of the stuff looks stretchy, but the actual game itself looks pretty good. And the actual stuff on screen looks pretty good. This stuff looks stretched, but what's actually happening here does not. So just FYI. Gonna get rid of that. Okay. All of these games, I haven't tested all of them, obviously, but all the ones that I have tested work great. Obviously, this is another console that works great. Pardon the green dot from the camera. I'm sorry about that. This is a console that works perfectly. No issues with this. Obviously, you're not really going to have any issues with something this old that's this figured out, I guess, in the emulator space. But again, banger console, banger game. That's just lightning. That's not That's not game flashing effects. I mean, it is, but it's intentional. So don't worry. It's raining in the game, so it's lightning. So it's supposed to be there. So calm down. See, now it's not doing it. Now it's fine. But there you go. Oh, the big one that I wanted to show you. The big one. Wait, no. This is one that I have to go through the emulators because this one doesn't work very well when you go through the menu channels. So as you can see, there is a bit of hassle with some of the menuing, but once you're actually in the game, it does work fine. So you may have to worry about some other stuff. That's another thing. That's the other negative, is that, like, I'm sure it's something that I set up wrong and something that I could fix and do better, but just putting it out there, I probably messed something up, but some of the stuff doesn't work quite as well when you just go through the menus on that big home screen. But this game runs perfectly. I've made it up to the Forest Temple. Jeez, gosh. I've made it up to the Forest Temple. It's hard to fight them when you're trying to keep the screen steady. Made it to the Forest Temple. Been playing a lot of this. I've had actually literally zero issues with this console. The pee-poo, we'll call it. Oh my goodness, those fireworks. We'll call this the pee-poo because I don't want to, again, Nintendo Ninjas. This is the pee-poo console. I've tried this game. I've tried Bind Baker. I've had no issue. Again, code words. I've had no issues with any of these. Like, this has been a flawless experience, and it is currently one of the only ways that you can still play this game through emulation. This game is not available on any of Nintendo's recent consoles. So, I mean, until they make it available, I'm just playing it here, I guess, but it's fighting the stupid Skulltula. But it is a perfect, flawless experience here. Like, this is rock solid 30 FPS. Any lag or anything, I noticed like one little dip in the video. It's not in the video, I promise, or it's not in the game, I promise you. It is just the video. Now, there is, for some reason, I can't get rid of this. In the Android version of Cemu, there is this little gear icon here, and I can't get rid of it. And I don't know exactly what to do with that, but that's just there. So, sorry about that. Citra as well. This is an emulator for this. The games in here, which my library's a mess right now, so don't worry about that. I have to fix some stuff. The games in here, there are a few issues. I hit the wrong button. The games in here, there are a few issues that I've encountered just with some of like, no, that's not what I wanted. Just with running it, not necessarily like texture flashing or anything like you saw with Skyward Sword, but I've had some issues with stuttering. So just going to put that out there. I still would rather play my 3DS games on my actual 3DS, especially with my 3DS looking as beautiful as it does with the... What do you mean? Okay, whatever. Especially with the game looking... What are you doing? What's not responding? Chill, bro. That's another issue I haven't had before. I don't know what's going on. It's being weird. Anyway. What do you mean it's not responding? Okay. What's not responding? Okay. See? Great experience, guys. I've actually never had this issue before. But the game will freeze at some points. I've actually not had this issue before. I'm going to reload. The game will freeze at some points, which is a little bit weird and a little bit slightly makes it a little annoying to play. So I would not, again, I only just got the clock down in this game. I would not recommend playing 3DS games on this. It can be done. There's probably a bunch of setting stuff. I mean, if you're buying this console to play 3DS games and stuff, you're probably, mostly how all that kind of works. So you can kind of mess with some of the settings. You can look stuff up about it. But generally, like there, when it loads stuff, it takes a second. So here, it's loading some things. It's loading some things. It's a little slow. You can see it's pretty choppy. It's loading. But then, like here, once you actually get into some of it, like now it's running a little better. But when it first loads up like animations, okay, this is actually atrocious. Then it is a little bit rough. The dog's gonna come get me. But hey, I mean, you're playing this on an emulator, and this is mainly meant for retro stuff anyway. It's built more for retro stuff. A lot of the more modern stuff does work. Like you saw, Skyward Sword looks pretty good, runs pretty well. Like I said, Retroid Bread works pretty good, runs pretty well. But overall, I would stick to more of the retro stuff. But you can do some of the other stuff. Just putting it out there that it is possible. Okay? Again, the overall experience for this thing is pretty great. And I love having it on a handheld this small, this compact, this usable. The battery life is really good too. I get like several hours of playtime. I haven't tested it extensively, but I've gotten several hours of playtime out of playing something like Skyward Sword, which is a more intensive game. Again, here's some Retroid bread. I'll show you kind of how this goes and how this plays. This plays perfectly. I haven't had any issues with this, dude. This game runs it perfectly, pretty nearly. So this is one that if you're going to play, I mean, it's also hit or miss with every game, but if you're going to play these kinds of games, this is one that I can highly recommend. And it runs nearly like 1-to-1, almost exactly how it does on the actual console itself. Now, some of the load times might be a little bit weird, it might be a little different, but it runs great. So for all of my testing, like here we're loading, like what's happening here? Okay, for all my testing, but you can see like it runs perfectly. All of this, like, all this looks great. It looks great. It runs perfectly smooth, buttery smooth, 60 FPS. I'm falling down. Oh, goodbye, Samus. I've had no issues with this. I say as there's one little frame freeze, but I've had no big issues that have been at all in any way game breaking. Can I wall jump here? I don't know. I should actually finish Dread one of these days. What are we doing, people? Anyway, I don't know how to play this game. I've never gotten too far into it, but it is a game that does run pretty well, and I've played about 15 minutes of it on here, and at least in those 15 minutes, I haven't encountered anything that was game-breaking or ruined the experience in any way whatsoever. It's just been purely great. Do I not have the turn into a ball ability? Is that what's going on? I think I don't have the turn into a ball ability yet, so sorry about that. Anyway, that's this. Oh, one more thing. I wanted to talk about game streaming, because this can also be used to stream games from your home PC to this. And I've done that in a couple different ways. I've tested a few different ways. Generally, Steam Link works better, but you can also do it through Moonlight, which is, if you set it up, then you're good to go. I've already have it set up, so I can basically like get into my computer from remote places. But you can set this up. Zero Tier 1 is like, no. Actually, I don't want to launch that. Because it'll show like network information. Zero Tier 1 is basically like a separate network that you set up. So you connect to Zero Tier 1 and then you use Moonlight to actually stream to your thing. But if I go here to Steam Link, I can actually open up Steam and it'll detect that I'm playing things on the network, and I can hit start playing, and let's see what it's going to launch, because I've got some stuff going on here. We're getting in there. Oh, look at that. Look, you can see my desktop. You can see OBS. Let me just for fun, let me pull up Leaf Blower Simulator or whatever. So this is Leaf Blower Simulator. There we go. It's running through Steam Link. It's there. Cool. So that's something that I've tested on vacation. I've played a few games of Marvel Rivals. It actually runs pretty darn well through Steam Link. Moonlight, I've had some connection issues just because Moonlight and Zero Tier is a little bit finicky with how it works. But Steam Link is pretty reliable. If you use Zero Tier 1 as a network thing, then you can use Steam Link because it'll think that you're on the same network, because you can connect your PC and this device to the same network through Zero Tier, and then wherever you are in the world, you just activate Zero Tier and it will connect your PC. You can use Steam Link. It runs fairly well. I played some Lies of P, I played some Elden Ring, I played some Marvel Rivals, like I said, and it's not too bad. It is a little bit weird playing Marvel Rivals with a controller because I'm not used to that, but it's playable. It's playable. And you can adjust the resolution, you can adjust the frame rate. Obviously, it will depend on how strong your connection is and all that kind of stuff, but it is doable, and it is something that is possible, and it's kind of pretty cool that you can do that, I think. Editing Corey here. Really quick, I wanted to mention, I forgot to say this in the review, but the speakers sound fairly identical to 3DS speakers, so they're not great, but they sound like 3DS speakers. That's what it is. They're pretty cheap, lots of high end, no bass whatsoever. They're not the best speakers in the world. They're serviceable. You will hear sound from them, and that's about all you can say about the speakers. Just wanted to throw that in there because I forgot to say that. while I was actually making the video. Anyway, back to me and my hands. Now, ultimately, it's going to come down to your own personal preference, but who is this for, basically? Who is this device for? I think this is for somebody who, like me, has a lot of nostalgia for smaller portable devices, but something that's a little bit more powerful at a price point that's not going to break the bank. If you want something like that, this is great for that. You can play a ton of old games on here. You can play basically everything from like the NES all the way through GameCube super reliably. You can play PS1, PS2 games on here super reliably as well. I didn't go over that, but you can do that. PSP. I haven't gotten into the PS Vita stuff, but it's possible. But again, it's sort of like game by game. Sometimes more of the modern consoles are a little bit wonky. I've had great experiences with things like Twilight Princess, Wind Waker. Those have run amazingly on here. But ultimately, you know, with any of these emulation devices, any of these retro emulation devices, you kind of have to take things with a grain of salt and do your own research and really figure out if this is right for you. Another size comparison, since people like size comparisons, I'm going to grab my Steam Deck so you can see how that compares, because it is quite the difference. Let me show you. Here's the Steam Deck. Here's the Retroid Pocket Flip 2. This thing is, I don't think it's even as big as the screen on the Steam Deck. So it's really small. It's got great portability. If that's something that you like, then this is amazing. I really, really like this. I think this is an incredible Hello Focus. I think this is an incredible device, and I love it overall. Apart from the few little things where like there's some flickering and the weird ergonomic thing when you're holding it like this, and there's like that strange, like this puts a little bit of strain on this. That's also a skill issue because I have small hands, so you know. But overall, I love this thing. I just wanted to make a random video and talk about it because I think it's a nice little portable retro handheld console, and it's exactly what I wanted. I've always wanted kind of a retro handheld for a while, and this called to me. The flip design called to me, and I love it. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on this. Let me know what you think of this. If you have it, let me know what you like about it, what you don't. Overall, I think it's great. I think it's a great buy at a good price. There you go. All right. Well, thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting my channel and making a weird video like this. And I'll catch you on the next one. Goodbye. See you later.